do a 30-second countdown. So just give me 1 second so I can put it on my end.
And then where?
1 second. We go to and then scroll down. Go. Great. Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Give me 1 second. I'm just making sure I can see it on my end. Everybody tuning in. I'm going to share it on Facebook, Wally, so we get started. And then you're more welcome to share it on my page as well, the Dani Perro Show, okay? Okay. And we're going to do a 30-second countdown, so we're going to start the show. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. Welcome to the Dani Perro Show here in our home studio again tonight. We are so excited to welcome. We have another amazing referral from a great friend of us, Caden Gordon. So we wanted to say thank you again, Caden, for tuning in, for giving us the referrals. I feel like of this month, we definitely have gotten a great touch of a lot of his friends and followers. And I really appreciate him giving us the referrals as well. So one of them as well that we have is Mr. Dr. Wally Bartfay. And everybody does know you as well as The Rock and Prof. And we will get a little bit involved, explain-wise why we call you that in the show.
Hey, Dana, thank you for having me this evening, and a shout out to Caden as well, a real young man, started in radio very young and a real dynamo. He's so high energy and so forth, and really done an excellent job in, helping out indie musicians like myself get promoted and so forth. So I really appreciate him connecting
I really love that he gave us the referral. I think that helps a lot for independent artists. And, just like my show as well, the Dani Perro Show, I am just trying to give you guys another platform where you can go. A lot of people don't know where else they can go from being interviewed or music-wise. So I have that opportunity as well. So I'm glad that I can give you that certain type of, feeling as well for that. So, Wally, let's get a little bit started because I'm so curious with your amazing biography that you sent us. In the beginning, when you were younger, say a little lad is what your bio says, which I love. It's like you liked playing electric guitar.
That's right, air guitar. Actually, I started with air guitar because I couldn't get my first real guitar until I was about 14 years of age.
Okay.
And I did some odd jobs to buy that first secondhand 6-string guitar. I worked in my uncle's garage, their Shell station, pumping gas and fixing tires.
Wow.
And
just quick
doing oil changes. And in Canada, we're mowing the lawns during the summer, painting fences, cleaning snow in the wintertime, anything to get some money. But, I bought my first guitar for about $50 Canadian, which was a lot of money back when I was a little lad, which was a lot of money. But I started to play that 6-string, never took a lesson in my life. I just went to the library, took out some books, and, started to learn chords and, how to tune it and so forth. And played it till my fingers bled. But I played other instruments as well. I played like the keyboards and the accordion and, in high school, I played brass instruments like the slide trombone.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a master of any instrument, but I play multiple instruments. And but I really wanted to play guitar, and getting my first guitar at 14. And then we would put on Christmas concerts. My first performances. We used to put on Christmas concerts with my cousin Irene Bellin and my sister Kathy. I was raised in a little place called Châteauguay, Quebec, originally from Quebec, Canada.
Okay, wow. So
And
you're speaking
yeah, so
Canadian.
this now it's all developed and housing and so forth. But back then there was a lot of fields and apple orchards. Even our elementary school was right beside an apple orchard, and we used to go, during recess and after school, climbing the apple orchard trees, the apple trees,
Picking?
with our bikes, popping wheelies, and it was more farm, it was more agricultural. So growing up in that sort of setting, really got into listening to country music in our
Okay.
cottage driving up. And my mother, we also listened to rock. So, my mother liked Tina Turner, for example. She was a big Tina Turner fan, and the
Wow.
Stones.
Love Tina.
Yeah, but we played John Denver and Johnny Cash, those old ones, kind of growing up and being exposed to them, sitting around a campfire in the cottage and singing songs. And I always wanted to play the guitar while being around a campfire. And, but those early concerts, those early Christmas concerts that we put on, and my mom and my aunts would bake for the seniors. Seniors are often neglected at Christmas, and veterans. So we wanted to give back to our community.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And ironically, my father unfortunately had, several strokes over the years and developed a vascular dementia. There's 100 different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most common one, but he developed a vascular dementia from hemorrhagic stroke. It's bleeding into the brain. And as dementia and Alzheimer's disease and so forth progresses, your short-term memory goes away, but long-term memory remains. And music is really embedded in our long-term memories, one of our last memories to go. And when he would be agitated, I would, get him on the phone because I was out of province, or when I would go to visit him, if he would be agitated, we would sing some of these old folk songs that we did up on the cottage, and it would calm him down. These are called the BPSDs for dementia, behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia: agitation, aggression, hallucinations, and so forth.
Yeah.
But my first clinical experience with music as medicine, if you want, was back in the 80s at a Douglas Hospital in Montreal. There was this old patient, a senior patient with advanced Alzheimer's, and I was reading her chart, and her daughter was there. And it said that she was a high school music teacher and she played piano. And she was very disconnected. When people develop these later stages of dementia, they get very disconnected from their environment, almost vegetative in nature. And she was in a wheelchair. We rolled her out to a common room, and in that common room, there was an upright piano. And I placed her hands on the piano, and about 4 or 5 seconds later, she started to play. And she played, and she played, and it's just like turning on a light switch. She came alive again. And her daughter was crying. She was very emotional because she was so disconnected for almost for a decade now.
Wow.
And she played like for almost 2 hours straight, and it just made her smile. There's no cure for dementia, but it really brought her memory for how to play the piano, and those songs were still there. And it created a tremendous amount of joy. It improved her quality of life. So this was really my first exposure with dementia. And later now, being a professor here, I teach public health and epidemiology.
Yes.
At Ontario Tech University. Is located in Oshawa. And there's in Whitby, just one town over here by the water as well, waters of Lake Ontario. There's Ontario Shore Center for Mental Health Sciences, and we set up what we call a clinical demonstration unit dealing with these dementia patients. These are people who have advanced dementia, and we're looking for non-pharmacological interventions. Often when they have I mentioned these BPSDs, aggression, sundowning, hallucinations, typically treated, at least historically, with medications. It requires a lot of staff time, nurses to intervene and other healthcare professionals. And they could be aggressive to themselves or harm themselves or other patients. So we tried various things. We tried things like light therapy, because of vitamin D levels are down, and vitamin D and depression. Depression is another BPSD that was found to be successful. But one of the interventions we did was music therapy. So we contacted their loved ones, and we created these customized playlists and whatever genre of music they liked. It could have been jazz or classical or religious music, whatever they like, country, rock, whatever was their genre. We created a playlist, and we looked at these baseline measures, how often these BPSDs were occurring. And when patients get advanced dementia, you can't wear headphones off, many of them like I'm wearing right now, because it will agitate them. Even wearing a name band, they'll try to bite it off and so forth. So the way we got around that was using parabolic speakers. So they're directional speakers. So if I were put it here, I would hear it, but the person next to me doesn't hear the sound.
So it's only the person in front.
Right. So you may see it in the community parabolic speakers at a crosswalk for blind people. So that if you're at the crosswalk where you hear that beeping noise, but when you're over, you don't hear it anymore. So it's very directional speakers. So we got around that problem, and they're not really expensive. They're about $60 Canadian. We got a set, and took these baseline measures, how often they needed medications, how often staff had to intervene. We had a colleague from business as well, Dr. Terry Wu, and some of his graduate students as well were involved to do cost-benefit analysis in terms of time saving for staff. Then we did these interventions several times a week, and see how often these BPSDs were occurring, and afterwards as well, post, several hours after. The long and the short of it is, it made a huge impact on these patients. The number of these behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia diminished, the use of medications and so forth, staff time. So it just shows that music is really medicine, and we're only rediscovering some of the benefits of music and as medicine now. But it's been around for thousands of years. Music, we've been playing music for thousands of years. There's a cave in Slovakia. Archaeologists have found 40 to 60,000 years ago, this femur, this long bone from a bear in this cave. It's called Witch's Cave in Slovakia. That's actually the first musical instrument. It was a flute. It was drilled holes. Neanderthals, cavemen, right? We're making flutes and play 60,000 years ago. It's amazing. And then we started to.
That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah, and then we started to, record some of these notations, how to perform music 2,000 years ago in Babylon. These clay tablets, these puriform tablets. But and Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. What I find really interesting, if you look at the Chinese character for music and happiness, music and happiness are interchangeable. It's the same character in Chinese. This is a 2,000-year-old character. And what's really interesting is that the character for medicine is that music, happiness, with another line on top, just this horizontal line with two small vertical lines, which means herbs or plants for medicine. So medicine, music, happiness are all connected. And traditional Chinese healers are still using, for example, their 2-string violin that they have as part of their healing processes. And, we start looking at historically how we looked at music. Apollo was the god in Greece for medicine and music. It wasn't. There's all these connections. The ancient Egyptians and different cultures around the world use chanting and rhythmic drumming, to calm patients down, to decrease pain and anxiety, to deal with sleep disturbances. So we're just rediscovering some of the benefits now, and there are some things like can talk more about, but things like binaural beat therapy and so forth, and the use of white noise, to help
Okay,
people
I know white
breathe.
noise. What's biotherapy?
Binaural beat therapy is another one that we're really rediscovering. And binaural beat therapy, basically it's an auditory illusion or hallucination that's created in our minds. Our ears can hear between 20 and 20,000 hertz,
Okay.
the human ear. And if I were to play on one side a sound at 310 hertz and the other one at 300 hertz, 310 take away 300 equals 10 hertz. We can't hear 10 hertz, but our brain creates this hallucination that we're hearing it, this third beat. And if it becomes synchronized with certain, our brain, if it's played over long periods of time, it's showing that with our brain waves, it can alter brain activity. And this binaural beat therapy, there's some preliminary evidence to show that it could help patients with Parkinson's disease who have low levels of dopamine, for example, to stimulate dopamine levels in their brain, insulin levels. It can, it can have benefits with acid reflux disease.
Acid reflux? Yeah. I need to know about more of that.
Yeah, and can improve memory, cognition levels, and so forth. So we're just starting to rediscover some of these alternate, therapies. Everything in our universe, all these frequency, everything in fact is alive and moving and shaking. And if you're wearing a watch, or if you have a watch on your wall, for example, there's a little quartz crystal inside, and it's actually shaped like a tuning fork. And that's what's vibrating back and forth with electricity goes through to keep time. But
I wish I had a watch on or had one on my wall. That's incredible. You're teaching me a lot of things that I never knew about, Dr. Wally.
Well, the Earth's frequency, Mother Earth here, has her own little frequency, and that's 7.83 hertz. And our universe actually vibrates at 432 hertz. The out there universe is vibrating. So we listen to things at 432 hertz. It's very, very calming. It's very relaxing. Even human body cells have their own vibration at a certain, everything's vibrating. So in physics, in quantum physics, there's string theory, and or combining all these theories called M theory. And it basically states that all of these particles, even at the lowest level, so if you have electrons and protons, they're all vibrating, but also things on a bigger level like gravity and electromagnetism, they're also consist of these strings, open and closed strings. So everything vibrates in our universe, not just music. So music is a form of vibration, form of sound.
Very true,
that can have healing properties and so forth. And you mentioned white noise. So white noise, you may be familiar with TV static, but we see in the past 10 years of sales of these white noise machines by parents for babies to help them sleep, right? It helps them to sleep. So the sales have just gone through the roof for these, for white noise. It's also, people are using it for insomnia and ADHD as well. I know myself, when I had my first son, first boy, when they were small, couldn't get him to sleep. He had colic, and I was reading about white noise and so forth, and I turned on the fan over the stove, that exhaust fan, and that's a form of white noise. And I swear to God, he fell asleep listening to that. In a few minutes, I put him there, and I held him there, and he was listening to it. And then his eyes started to go, and it works. As a parent, it worked. So I'm a firm believer. But there's also, you may have heard of pink noise and brown noise or gray noise. These are different frequencies. So pink is a lower frequency end, a little bit softer. like a medium rainfall. Brown noise has the most bass, if you want more bassier sounds, sort of like a gentle surf of an ocean. So
That's what I listen
use
to every night. Ocean sounds.
So people use this to help them to sleep. It decreases their blood pressure. It takes away stress and anxiety. And these are all non-invasive. We don't have to take a sleeping pill, right? These have no side effects, right? So we're just trying to re-examine these or rediscover these, right? In terms of using these different frequencies and sounds and music, for healing and for promoting personal wellness as well. There's also something called gray noise. Okay. So gray noise uses sounds to promote a reorganization of your cortex, right? So gray noise is tailored or customized noise, maybe used by an audiologist or scientist in the lab. And we can use it for treating things like tinnitus. Tinnitus is a fancy way of saying ringing in the ears. Yep. So there's also hyperacusis, where they hear too many high sounds. So gray noise therapy is used for treating conditions like tinnitus now. Again, non-invasive, non-pharmacological, non-surgical.
Yes.
So these sounds, these frequencies, music, can alter our moods, can make us feel good. So that's the magic of music, the magic of these different frequencies and so forth. And it's medicine, I would argue. Yeah. So that's a little bit of background.
I am curious to ask you a little bit, because we spoke about the Christmas concerts and everything in the beginning, with you and your family. But shortly after that, what we talked about off air, I should say, before we went live, you were telling me a little bit about how the Christmas shows were bringing you into wanting to do what your profession is now. Can you give me a little bit more information about that?
Yeah. Well, my dad's, I guess his journey, he passed away 2 years ago in February. But he had several health conditions. He had heart failure and a pacemaker, and he was on a medication called Coumadin, which is a blood thinner. And unfortunately, was a little bit too aggressive with the Coumadin, and that's why he had a stroke, hemorrhagic stroke in his brain. And once you have damage, it's not repairable. And he developed a form of dementia. There's 100 forms of dementia, like I mentioned, but he developed this form called vascular dementia. And it's getting more and more of a big problem. I really got interested in dementia. My wife, Emma, also was a professor she retired. We're doing some research with dementia, but here in Canada, 1 in 4 people over 85 have a diagnosis of dementia.
Wow.
And by 2030, the numbers are going to triple here in Canada. In the States, you guys are about 1 in 9 people over the age of 65 have Alzheimer's disease. And worldwide, there's 55 million people with dementia, and by 2050, it's 153 million people will have dementia. So 10 million new cases every year. In other words, 10 million new cases. So as our population ages, more and more chronic conditions pop up, and these are neurodegenerative disorders. You can't fix it or repair it. Unfortunately, there is some prevention in terms of lifestyle, smoking and so forth are risk factors, inactivity, keeping your brain active and so forth that you may have heard about. Those are some modifiable risk factors, but some of it's genetic and things we cannot control and associate with other diseases. Even Parkinson's disease, for example, you can develop a Parkinson disease form of dementia, right? There's a
very true.
So these numbers keep going up. So how do we, there's no cure, but how do we improve patients' lives? How do we, their family and patients' lives? And it's from my own experiences, seeing my dad, it's very heartbreaking for my mom. My mom's 88 currently, and she used to go there, every day to the nursing home and bring in, soup and, help him brush his teeth, because after they forget how to brush their teeth and shave themselves and even who they are. And many times it was very heartbreaking because he would forget who my mom is. He'd walk in the room. Who are you? Well, I'm your wife. I've been married to you for 62 years, it's heartbreaking. But this is what happens. So how do we reconnect them? So music, I found, is a form of almost reminiscent therapy. When you hear an old song, it could bring back a lot of memories that are associated with that song. When you're a teenager and you're driving in a car, your first girlfriend or your first dance or whatever it is, first special person that you met. So music is often associated with these wonderful memories that are in there and can be stimulated. If you take a patient with dementia and at rest, and you do a CT scan and you look at all the colors in the brain, it doesn't really move around a lot. But when you start playing a familiar song to them, their brains really light up. Their temporal, frontal, parietal lobe, the limbic systems, everything starts firing up. It's like you turn on a light switch. So it's really amazing what music can do, for these patients. And that's some of the things that it was interested in exploring and trying to help out some of the families as well, to deal with these, some of these BPSDs, as I mentioned, that are associated with dementia, that are quite troubling and can be quite upsetting when someone's hallucinating or becoming aggressive and so forth. So it's
well, I wanted to say it's pretty amazing that you definitely wanted to get a job or get a better idea and understanding of how the research works, especially being a professor. I mean, was that something that you felt like you wanted to do when you were younger? Were you looking into being a professor? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I was always I started off, I like to help people. And
I can
when I was a young teenager, I was a lifeguard for many years, and then I got into studying the health sciences and nursing, and I was going through graduate school. I went to the U of T, University of Toronto here. I did my doctorate there at the Institute of Medical Sciences, and but I really got into research, which was quite interesting, and kind of pursue research. The best avenue was to get into academia, but I always enjoyed teaching. And so it was a nice balance. So I had the teaching aspect, the clinical kind of connections, clinical research that I can do. It's been a blessing. It's been a privilege to do. And some of the students over the years, many of the students that I've taught, and I probably teach between 300 and 350 students for the past, 30 years or something. So you do the math on that one. But many of them are still in contact with me after 25 years, and they send me pictures of their, their kids or something. And it has been a blessing on so many levels for me. But what else too is, my own personal connection with my father, having dementia, having to deal with that, was very difficult for myself and for my mother and for my sister as well. So anything that could help him and help other patients, I like to see more of it done, because we're often relying on medications and so forth to deal with these problems. And it's not always about finding the cure. It's about one's quality of life. I see a comment there by Alan. He has TBIs, which are basically mini strokes or precursors to a larger stroke, and possibly early dementia. Yeah, there are ways you can test that. There are scales and so forth. But again, there is no cure for dementia. We try to prevent it, limit it, and again, to look at health more than just the biology. I see him physically. I see the words physically and spiritually. I think those are very important components of health. health is not just our biology and our genetics. It's that's what I teach my students. To look, beyond that, to have peace of mind and health and belief systems, and your social networks are so important. As we age, as we're getting older, especially,
What do you feel like for Alan? Because he's trying to find a better understanding for physically and spiritually. Is there anything we could recommend to help him?
Well, I see he has possible, he wrote he has possible early dementia. So people start recognizing, it's not just, I forgot where I put my car keys, but they have problems recalling things like their phone numbers. I know for my dad, he had problems dialing his own phone number. And after a while, as dementia started to progress, and even during the early stages, he couldn't use the phone. They couldn't use the remote control. He had problems using it. And I hear this quite a bit, from individuals who say, oh, my mother or my dad, they can't figure out the remote control, and they said, it's so simple, Dad. You push the red button to turn it on, and you push this for the volume to go up and channels to go down. It's not rocket science, but you'll see these little early indicators that some of the tasks that we take for granted that were very easy for us, a few years ago, now become very, very challenging. You read something and you forgot what you read. You're reading an article online or in a paper or something, and you forgot what you read a few minutes ago. These are all early indicators. So what can you do? Well, it shows that, having a strong social network is very important. But being by yourself is probably the worst thing you can possibly do. Having this very, very strong social network, engaging your mind in things like crossword puzzles, trying to learn a new language, even if you just learn a few words a day, keeping your mind active.
Oh, that's actually really,
Yeah, people do crossword puzzles or even puzzles itself, just putting together a puzzle. Engaging in some form of physical activity and recreation. It could be swimming, could be classes, dancing, yoga. Very, very important, because when we engage in physical health, it releases many, many beneficial endorphins in our body, which are morphine-like substances. It takes away pain. It gets our dopamine levels up as well in our brain. So dementia has, dopamine levels tend to drop off. And I would argue, start listening to music as well, because music has many benefits as well. Patients with Parkinson's disease who listen to different forms of music that they enjoy, you can see that their dopamine levels actually go up a little bit. So we can demonstrate this clinically. So these are things you can do proactively for sure.
Well, I wanted to know more about the music therapy too, that you previously had gotten involved in. I'm curious as to how that is a huge part of where you are now as well, with all the research you've done.
Yeah, so I got the name the Rockin' Prof, so I should mention that. So I like to incorporate, when you have first year students, you might have a class of 150 students, young kids coming in, feel intimidated, coming from the high school setting into university for the first time. How do you break the ice? And I always found that music helps always break the ice. So instead of wearing a suit like I'm doing right now, I might run in. I'll wear my Stetson hat, put on my jeans, cowboy boots, carry my guitar case, and walk in instead of having the suit on. Who is this guy? And then you pull out your guitar and you sing a little song and you say, oh, I wrote this for my dad. And today's lecture it's going to be on neurological disorders. And we're going to talk about Alzheimer's disease and different dementias, for example. And by the way, my dad had it, and music used to help him. So you tell a story and you break the ice. So this is what I've been trying to do over the years. So that's how I got the name 15, 20 years ago or so, the rock improv. So with my students. But music, I really found it, like I mentioned, back in the 80s was my first clinical experience with that woman playing piano, that piano teacher, set something in the back of the mind. And then now I have an opportunity to explore how that works clinically. So we have an Ontario Center for Mental Health Sciences. It's and that specialty, I was a unit that we developed when I was associate dean here a couple of years back. We put together sort of this collaboration with the university and this hospital, so we can do training for undergraduate students and for graduate students as well, to do research there, to get them into the unit and to look for these non-invasive ways to deal with dementia. I mentioned light therapy. We've done, music therapy, reminiscent therapies, different types of reminiscent therapies. We've also done some work with a robot, with a colleague here, sort of this assisted robot who uses AI to help identify some of these BPSDs when they're going to occur, and then you can alert
something, isn't it?
So you can alert the nurses, that this person or the person might be prone to fall, if they're climbing out of bed, or if they're confused and they're climbing out of the bed when the rails are up, and you can train AI robots to do that. And the these robots are very friendly looking. And sometimes it's just engaging the patient with a conversation, telling a joke, playing some music for them. This is all the future. This is all coming just around the corner, and we're just at the cusp of it. We're just at the edge of it, and we're just beginning our first steps into this journey for looking at how we can help out these patients. So the next few years is going to be very, very exciting for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also want to mention, because we're talking a lot about the research and a lot with your occupation and what you do now, but previously you are also a songwriter. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, I know you also had recently wrote a song for your beautiful wife.
Yes, So, most recently, my wife, Emma, she retired. She's an epidemiologist. She's teaching epidemiology for several years at the university, and she retired in August. And I wrote a song. She was to mark 3 milestones in her life. First, it was for her birthday this past November, and second, the fact that she retired, took an early retirement. And the third, that she's a 10-year breast cancer survivor. So that was a real milestone in her life.
That's amazing.
10 years. She had many health challenges afterwards. As you know, cancer is a terrible disease as well, and life-threatening disease, and many surgeries and therapies and whatever afterwards. So that 10th year anniversary was very special too. And I wanted to give her a special gift that you couldn't buy. It had to be from the heart. So I wrote her a song called "You're My Beautiful" with Stephen Wrench. Stephen Wrench is down in Nashville. And we decided to collaborate on this song. I did the kind of a rough version of what I was looking for. I did the vocals. Recorded them here in a Toronto studio, but he wrote this really beautiful instrumental with acoustic guitar, and on violin it features Molly Cherry Holmes. Okay. Molly Cherry Holmes is a 5-time Grammy nominee as well, so real excellent musician. And the piece, this particular "You're My Beautiful," hit #1 on the World Indie chart list, top 100, hit #1 on January the 8th, and also on the Euro Indie Network Music. So it was really my first #1. Yeah, I've had a couple #2s and a couple in the top 5s, but this is my first #1. So I'm really proud of that. and it had some really wonderful reviews out as well for this song, and I hope it stays in the top 5 for a while as well. But it was a real privilege to work with Stephen Wrench on this one, and it really turned out to be a beautiful piece. I believe, yeah, and it's all from the heart, yeah. So
I was going to say, it definitely is from the heart, but it's also the inspiration of your wife, right? So that's where the idea came from for the song.
Correct. Yeah.
Definitely makes it beautiful because it is from the heart. It means something. And was this also one of the songs you performed for your children?
For my children, my children are a little bit older now. They're all grown up.
Your students. Your students.
Oh, okay, children. Okay.
Children, students, professor.
I haven't performed this one. This term, I'm actually teaching online. Last term, I was in the classroom. I had a graduate course. I was teaching public health graduate program in epidemiology in person. But this term, I'm actually teaching online. But I did share my music video with them. Yes, I certainly shared the music video for them, and I received some really nice emails coming back from my students,
well, that's beautiful.
Which is always a blessing. So yeah.
What is the music video, Wally?
What is the music video?
What is the music video? Is it based off of the song?
Yeah. I actually filmed it here in Oshawa. And it's you'll see scenes from the Oshawa beach, and it actually features my wife Emma in it as well. I took some stills. I did all the videography and photography myself, so it's another hobby of mine was photography for many years. But I put together that music video as well. So it's you'll see. It unfolds, tells a story night and day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the darker side of life and the brighter side of life, and even though we're getting older and you have many scars and so forth, in my eyes she's still beautiful. So there you go.
That's so beautiful. That's so sweet that you said that about her, especially now she's retired, so you still get more time with her now, right? Even though you're working.
Yeah, well, I plan to take an early retirement too, and hopefully this summer. And I still like to be engaged, to do some volunteer work with the Alzheimer's Society or dementia research and my music, but to do some traveling with her as well. We have lots of things planned on the agenda. We've had a great run. We wrote several books together. I think we wrote six textbooks or something together on public health, for example.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
We published several. Pardon me?
Your own textbooks, or like for
school? Yeah, for university students, for graduate and undergraduate in community health and public health. We wrote textbooks, and
oh my gosh.
Emma actually wrote a book. Chiritarka Ozia When the Sky Fell. It's a fictional story, kind of takes place medieval times, multi-generational, where the women are very strong characters, and you see how the women from multi-generations move forward to solve this particular mystery in this fictional place called Ozia, which is in kind of this time dilation place. Kind of very interesting little book. So
I'm interested in this
shout
book
out
already.
there. So she's been writing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know Emma was an author, or you were an author. You didn't put that on your bio.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, in academia, we have to publish. So, I have like probably 200 publications and monographs and research conferences and everything. But books, books take a long time.
Oh, I'm sure.
To put together. And the books that I've done a lot of the photography as well. So when we did some traveling around the world, and we'd visit some developing nations and that, and you talk about poverty as a social determinant of health, and you can contrast that when people are living on $2 a day. How can you live on $2 a day? You buy a coffee, it costs you more than $2 a day. And these people have to buy food and medicine and shelter and water and everything. We're so privileged here in North America. People don't realize it. So I might have some photos of some of these developing nations and so forth that we visited. 28 countries with her to date that we visited. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a lot of research you're doing there currently. I feel like also with your music, Wally, you might look into doing something with different frequencies as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when you're doing recording now, you often do these harmonies where you sing an octave lower or an octave higher, and now there's that whisper tract that is also introduced, and it's a very, very small small amount of whisper tracks. But it would be interesting to get in some some binaural beats or something in there. I think to integrate it to see.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because you were talking about all like the pink noise, the gray noise, the brown noise, stuff like that. As I
haven't integrated that, but that's a very interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought. Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot of research looking into frequencies also, like for certain types of people who you want to listen to. Because I would be interested in learning more about the frequency for ADHD, because I do have that. So if there's something like out there or anything like that for a lot of people that are tuning in.
Yeah, well, I mentioned this, for some people, the ADHD, you have to try different things. And for some people, the white noise works, those white noise machines that you can purchase. For other ones, pink or even brown noise. Brown noise is more bassy. And I think you're listening to more brown noise because of that gentle surf waves crashing into shoreline type of music.
It sounds so beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the brown noise. So you're probably in that brown noise frequency, and that helps. There's research if you start Googling articles about brown noise. There's not that much out there yet, but what we know is, it seems to help. Preliminary clinical evidence, these different and everyone has their own type. It might be white, pink, brown, or gray noise for certain disorders like tinnitus I mentioned before.
Yep.
Find what works for you. It's better than being dependent on sleeping pills. It's calming. It makes you feel good. It decreases your stress levels, your anxiety, your blood pressure, all of these catecholamines in your body, these stress hormones that are released when we're stressed, right? And you listen to these calming noises. Like I love to go to the beach myself, right? I love to go snorkeling and scuba or stand up paddleboarding with my wife. I just love, or kayaking or whatever. I just love to be by the water. Just hearing that noise is so relaxing. I just love it. And that's what people do. They go on vacation, lie on the beach, and just to listen to the water, and they feel so much better, right? So it has healing properties. It has healing properties for sure.
It calms you down for sure. Yeah.
It calms you down.
Yeah.
So keep doing it. Keep doing it, Dana. Just, that brown noise, if it works, we can try other sounds as well in that brown noise frequency. Experiment with them, see what else, because there's many pre-recorded things you can find online for brown noise.
And as well as Alexa and Google devices, you could just tell them to play.
Yeah, tell them to find something for you, and you mix it up, experiment, see what works best for you. Yeah.
Now, do you ever feel like anyone that has been listening to different noises, as for brown noise, or pink noise, or white noise, do they ever have a disturbance where it's like high to them, high pitched noise, or more of like not calming? Like, have you ever had to deal with that type of thing where it was like, okay, that frequency doesn't work?
Yeah, well, there are some people. It's called hyperacusis. Some sounds are really annoying. When you take the chalkboard and you put some people and you pull down the nails, right?
Nails on the chalkboard.
So for some people it's fine, right? And for others, you start your back starts moving and your hair stands up on your back, and it's that certain frequency just doesn't vibrate with certain people. So there's a good example: the chalkboard and the fingers going down.
Yeah.
So definitely there are definite sounds, that frequencies that people don't agree with for absolutely for sure. Yeah.
No, I was just curious because I wanted to know through the research if you had to deal with a lot of situations where that was happening and you were like, okay, we can't do this, let's do something else.
Yeah, not personally in on that level, um, but I have had experience to different noise, like to benefit individuals who said, yes, I'm listening to brown noise or listening to pink noise or white noise, and I couldn't sleep, for a long time, and now I'm finally getting, I'm finally getting a decent night's sleep or half decent night's sleep because of this. I've been taking medications for so long, and I've got dependent on it. Now I'm getting off my medication. So you hear these anecdotal, these anecdotal reports that it's benefiting them. And like I said, for parents too with little babies, using white noise to help them calm down and sleep. These white noise machines, the sales in the past decade, we start looking at them, have just shot up like crazy. Yeah. And why are they shooting up? Well, they're shooting up because it's working. And one parent will tell another parent, hey, your kid can't sleep, it's colicky, try this, try that. And parents will try everything. And they said, you know what? It's working. And through word of mouth and through social media, people are hearing and learning about white noise and buying these monitors, these machines, I should say, these white noise machines. And it's working. You're having these anecdotal evidence. Again, the hard clinical evidence needs to catch up, right? It's we're just starting to catch up as well. Yeah.
And we're all starting to look more research about it, because trust me, half of these noises and stuff that people are listening to today, I'm sure they didn't know brown noise was ocean sounds. I would have just said ocean sounds, so I didn't know the terminology for it. I appreciate you teaching me that, Dr. Wally. But I want to know for yourself, what is next to come for yourself? Are you currently still, because I know we talked about your music and stuff, and that's still in the works. There's still stuff coming, with what you want to do. You talked about pre-retirement midsummer. Are you going to take for your retirement? Are you going to look into more of your music with your research? What is your next goal? What would you like?
Yeah, well, I like to continue to look at music as medicine. I'm working with a student right now. We're going to putting together some, this small little lecture series, two-part lecture series we're working on, and just some of the things that I brought up, like the history of music and medicine, with that flute and so forth, and binaural beat therapy and noise therapy, and how it can be used, how music can be used for helping patients with dementia and Parkinson's disease and acid reflux disease and so forth. Kind of putting together just this short little video. That's one of the projects that I have on the pipeline. So I like to continue doing that. And I'll probably be writing, even though I'm retired, some other textbooks, some other textbook, because writing is an interesting way. You have many years of experience and knowledge and so forth. And even though you publish it in peer-reviewed, people don't tend to read the peer-reviewed. They tend to read, believe it or not, textbooks more than the peer-reviewed, or watch something on social media. So it's much better to get lectures out there like that. So I have a website called Wally Bartfay. There's lectures and various lectures that I posted. But in terms of my music, yes, working on an album. It's called Timeless. So that's I have some time booked in February in Toronto studios, Matte Black Records, where I did the vocals for "You're My Beautiful." I'm going in there to record 2 songs. One of them is called "Obsession and Desire." And that one is about where you basically you fall in love with a girl, you can't get her off your mind, you can't sleep at night, you can't think straight. It's 24 hours you're thinking about this person, and it becomes your obsession and desire. So it's love. It's love in the real chemistry of it. And the other one's called Borrow Time, which has to deal with an aging cowboy and his lifestyle. So he sees the lifestyle being, as a cowboy, being wild and free, on the prairie, and being threatened. He's aging, his hair is turning gray, and he's basically trying to maintain his lifestyle, his way of life, the freedom that he feels. but he feels he's on borrowed time. So that song is called Borrowed Time. So those are the two songs.
Your songs are so deep, Dr. Wally.
Thank you.
They're deep with so much meaning of inspiration.
Mhm.
And I'm sure when this new album comes out, it'll be 100% hit too. So you're going to work on 2 songs for this. So what is this album like? What are you looking to do? How many songs on the album officially?
Probably 12.
Okay.
There's another ones that I've another song called There Are Times. And sometimes when and I'll read you the first verse if I may. I'm putting music to it right now, but I wrote the first verse. It has to deal with sometimes in life, you're really down, you're really feeling depressed, but you have to stand by that individual, your loved one, your friend, to help them through those dark times. So I'll just read the first verse, but it goes something like, there are times in your life when you feel that even your own shadow has left you behind. Stop waiting for the storm to pass. Go and dance in the rain. What's been broken can't be whole again. Write your troubles in the sand. Watch the waves wash them away. I want to be the person who made you smile today. And the hardest person to love is the one who needs it the most. That's why I'm here for you, my sweet baby girl. So that's the first verse. So that's another song that I'm working on. But
well, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to hear the music. Incredible. So where can we stay tuned with your upcoming releases and teasers for,
Yeah, I'm on, you name the social media, be it X or previously known as Twitter, Meta, Facebook, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Vivo. I got some music videos on Vivo and YouTube. So basically you just punch in my name, Wally Bartfay Music or Wally Bartfay Lectures. I'm the only Wally Bartfay on planet Earth as far as I know. So there's only one of us. I'm unique and I'm only one of a kind. So my name's very easy to find, and you can see my publications and textbooks and lectures and music and so forth just by Googling my name. Yeah.
That's awesome. That really
so I'm on all social media. So yeah.
And your website. What is your website?
I think I sent it as a link. I couldn't quote it, but I do have a website for my music as well, and for my lectures as well.
So if anyone just searches Dr. Wally Bartfay,
Wally Bartfay Music or Wally Bartfay Lectures, you'll see my name pop up on many on all those ones that I mentioned. If you want music, go SoundCloud and Vivo and YouTube and Spotify and so forth. They'll all show up, and of course my lectures will show up as well. Yeah.
Before we get ready to start, toning the show down and everything and say our goodbyes, I'm curious as to yourself, why you also had gotten a chance to do your lectures like online for people. Is it more of them to learn what your research is?
Yeah, well, lectures online really started during COVID. Here in Canada, there was a lockdown, and we had a lot of face-to-face lectures in universities. Before coming here, I came here in 2005, and before coming here, I taught at Windsor and Queen's University in Kingston, and it was very face-to-face sort of lectures. But because of COVID, we couldn't. There was a lockdown here in Ontario. Conduct face-to-face lectures. So we went with the online platform, and it's really taken off. And, there are many pros and cons for it, but one of the biggest pros is the students can watch it anytime they want, 24/7. They can stop it, they can rewind it, they can watch it several times over, as opposed to just once being delivered in front of a classroom. So that's one of the benefits of it. And the other thing is that when you share it on social media, it's not just limited to that class of students who are registered. It becomes a global sort of thing. So, I have some lectures out there with, over 7,000 views and so forth on disease, illness, or epidemiology or neurological disorders. Several, thousands of people around the world are accessing it, which is a great way of sharing knowledge. It's a great platform. and music too. We look back, when I was a youngster and I was going to community college, I was playing with a friend of mine, Dani Perro. So we used to play in coffee houses and, just for tips and trying to impress some girls or whatever at that time. But musicians, basically, we it was face to face, and it was very local and regional. But now with social media, I talk with people in Japan and South Africa and Germany and all over the world. We can connect and share ideas and music. So it's really wonderful, to do that, and very enriching. It's very enriching. It's not just that local sort of, small niche. The internet has really opened up how we do music, how we share music, and how we create. And even talking to you like this. It didn't exist 25 years ago or something. So it's wonderful.
Definitely became a bigger platform last year, or a couple years ago. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I have to say, Wally, it was amazing talking to you. I really appreciate you giving me the time of day, telling me a lot about your research, what you're previously going on, your upcoming music, how you made top one. I think that's incredible. I can't wait to talk to you again. I appreciate you giving me the time of day. Also being in Ontario, you're the same time as well with me. So I'm glad that I didn't have to put you up for this interview or anything like that too. But like I said, I really appreciate. I'm excited so we can start playing more of your music when you release it, as well on Hamilton Radio. So we appreciate that too.
It's been a real pleasure to be here and a pleasure talking with you, Dana, as well. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. I thank you again for being on my show. And everybody that's tuning in, this is our brand new mug as well. We're starting to release. It's going to be our tumbler for the Dani Perro Show. So we're slowly going to start doing some merchandise soon later. I will be promoting on every show. If anybody is interested, they can contact us. But we will be back on the Dani Perro Show every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. Make sure you guys stay tuned. And thank you again, Wally. Really exciting. Loved having you. Would like to have Emma her book.
I will. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone.